Welcome again to Mwanangu Mtanami's podcast. We are here again, another week's edition of parenting and support for our families. Today we have a special guest, one who, amidst all the challenges that we are going through, saw that there was something wrong and there was a potential that someone could get hurt in the process and decided, no, I need to stand up and I need to protect our children. So our topic of discussion today is child protection in the digital age. So our guest for today is Edith Utete. Edith, welcome. Please tell us what it is that you do.
Thank you, Janet. Like you said, I am very passionate about child protection. I am a lawyer by profession, a mom of 4. I have a 21-year-old and 2 teenagers and a toddler. So that combination of being a lawyer and a mom is what got me into the space where I was worried about what my children were exposed to online, especially now when they have to be online because of schoolwork. And even before the pandemic, when they were required to do homework and other school projects using the internet. And it was also because of the kind of stories that I would hear from other moms and other, schools and all sorts of, the risks that are going on, the things that are going on with children, just having phones, but without knowing what they're getting themselves into. So this is where the passion grew from, and I started doing more research into what internet safety was about. Mm-hmm. I had left my profession as a lawyer and moved into consulting at that time. So during my training programs, I then incorporated sessions with the children where I would hear from them what they were experiencing online. And I managed to get some very revealing information from those children.
Of course, those kids, they always tell everybody else what's going on, and they don't speak to their parents.
Oh, yeah. From the fact that they were opening private accounts,
wow,
to the fact that they were hacking into schools' computer systems.
Really?
Yes, and this are primary school children.
I thought that was fact that
no, and these are schools right next door to us, the schools that our own children are going to. So instead of, yes, I freaked out at first, but instead of panicking and raising alarm, I approached the schools about the findings that I had made. And I then started an intentional program for those children with the help of the parents and the school to just help them figure out what they were really getting themselves into. And so that movement has grown because of those conversations that we've had. I have now started publishing material as well. I've got a few books for parents, and I'm working on some for the educators and the children as well. So I'm also an author.
Tell us more about that and your books in relation to the subject matter.
Well, the one that I have been using mainly is the Parenting in a Connected World for children who are, this is specifically for the parents, because in my interactions with the children and the educators, we found that the gap is the parents, because parents generally think when they send their children to school, it's well and good, everything is sorted. And the children also feel that the parents are not up to date with their needs. So no matter what they're taught at school or whatever we teach them as the professionals, they still want mom and dad to chip in somehow. And then when I went to the parents, the issue was, how do we chip in? So I had to provide them with conversation starters, how they can start even talking about the technology risks, how they can start talking about the opportunities that the internet has, how they can talk about how their children are going to be using the internet. And for those who hadn't provided their children with phones or mobile devices, how they could prepare their children for that experience of being online.
Yeah,
So
and
those
I,
are the.
I I will definitely attest to the fact that you're very resourceful because for me, my daughter is 8 years old, and because we engage on a regular basis, there was a program that you had insight on that actually prepares the child's mind on how to behave online if they haven't started,
Mhm.
and if they already have, how to manage or navigate what they've already gone through and possibly protect themselves better, which is awesome. And already, it's like I receive updates that are telling me that she has made pledges, and for her she becomes more aware as well of the risks and what's going on out there. So it's like super awesome. Now I think because of that, I didn't know how to start the conversation, and thanks to you, there's a whole program that is designed for that, for age groups from what, 8 all the way through to 17, right?
For now, it's 8 to 14.
Okay.
Although the material outside that program is all the way up to 19.
Exactly. So there's all of this content that's available, and the thing is now,
Mhm.
not everybody will be able to access that kind of training program. We had to go through a screening process as well. So the question now would be for parents who have children who are going on the internet, who are accessing these these devices and things like that. What are the things that they need to pay attention to, and how should they prepare themselves and their children in order to make their children's engagement with the internet a whole lot safer?
Okay. I think the first thing as a family, you have to establish your values.
Mm-hmm.
One issue that I find is when people go online, they tend to want to act differently to who they are in real life.
Very true.
And what we need to teach our children is to be authentic, to be who we are online and offline,
Mm-hmm.
to be consistent in our values, in the way we present ourselves to the world. So the pressure then of trying to be something that you're not will fall away. If you teach your child to always have confidence in who they are, to always be bold about what they believe in, it's really important to maintain that.
Yeah.
So you then don't get things like when a child, I know of some children who've had cases of body shaming or cyberbullying happening online.
Yes, definitely. There's a lot of that.
When you have the conversations that instill confidence in your child prior to them going online, it doesn't matter what people say to them when they get into those spaces. They are able to know that this is about the other person and whatever they think, and it's not about me. And they don't feel any pressure as well to
Mm-hmm.
be somebody else or to have to follow a certain crowd. You find with a lot of the children also now, because of the opportunity to be famous, to become popular in an instant, you also need to prepare them for that, to show them that in an instant you can be popular, but on the other end, you can also lose that popularity based on a very simple thing. So the children need to see those opportunities, the value in the technology, and to appreciate that technology is a tool. It is not something that is going to, take over your life.
It's not like a lifestyle, right?
Yes, you can stop when you want to. You can do other things. You can go outside. You can talk to people face to face. You can write. You can be creative. You try to have that balance so that they know when I want to be entertained, when I want to be informed, I can use my phone, but I can also be entertained and informed in other ways outside the digital device, because there is that issue of addiction that comes with being online, which we need to guard against as well.
Definitely.
So,
I'm so worried about the issues of addiction because you find that
mm,
okay, maybe I don't know, maybe because there's so much withdrawal from my kids, I try to limit their contact with digital stuff, with the internet and things like that, because the way that they become hooked, you can't have a conversation with that person. You cannot engage with them. It's like they literally become a zombie. and everything that is going on with them is centered on that virtual reality that they're in at the time. And then, like skip a few years forward, I was watching a presentation by this man who was saying that even when now you get into the workplace, there is so much time being spent on devices because people cannot unhook. They're constantly plugged in on their devices. And then they said when they did a survey of the staff that were there, because there was a full range of young staff and older staff were very engaged with their work. They were consistent with their deliverables and everything. But the younger staff, they like literally had their laptops on, and then the phone would be right there by their belly or their chest, whatever. And they'd be like typing, and then looking and replying and responding to their messages, typing, because they just couldn't unhook. So like I feel like we need to have more conversations about those addictions, so that we can help our kids. So now my question would be like, from that sense, I tell my kids that no gadgets for as long as possible, and then only when they've like asked for 100 times, that's when I'll say yes. But most times I say no. Is that a good approach, or how should I balance it out? I mean, what's good and what's bad?
Because this is something that has just been thrown on our laps as parents, even us as experts, because we are the generation that grew up without the internet. We grew up without digital devices. We are the first generation to parent children who are born into this.
Okay.
So
that's true.
It's still something that we are studying, and we don't know what is wrong or what is right. And sometimes for us to even say it's wrong for children to spend X hours on the internet or on the computer doesn't always make sense. Like right now, we've got children who are supposed to be online because of school.
True.
So they are, whether they like it or not, whether we like it or not, their school curriculum requires it. So for those children, you can't impose that you need to be online for this amount of time. But what I have been, prior to the pandemic, what I've been advising was for children who are under 5, avoid them spending time on a digital device for an hour, for more than an hour a day. And in our household, my children who are school-going age, they don't have access to digital devices during the week at all.
Okay, but
not even for 10 minutes.
Are they going to school though? Online?
No, this was before the pandemic.
Okay, yeah, definitely.
So now we had to change the rules, obviously, because they now need to go to school on the computer.
Yes.
So, and we realized that even if we take away their phones, they have access to the internet on their laptops.
They still
and they can be chatting. Yes, and they can be chatting to their friends there. So now it's not so much about.
Maybe can I just interject on that one? I think this is the funniest thing, right? So we've got WhatsApp Web, right? So there I connect my phone to WhatsApp Web, and I do this because it's easier to type on the laptop than it is to type on the phone. It's such a small device, so it's so not handy, right? So I leave my WhatsApp Web on and I go wherever I go, and my daughter is doing school on the laptop. As she's doing school on the laptop, I find I am sending messages to myself, and I can't figure out what's going on, because I was like, I thought it only worked when you were within range, you know what I mean? But only to discover once you're connected on WhatsApp Web, for as long as the connection is active, right? Your web will still be connected even when you are not on the phone, for as long as there's an active internet connection. So my daughter knew that I send myself messages when I want to remember stuff. Right? So she looked for my contacts within my contacts, and she started apping me, and I was like, "What? This is too weird."
You see, and how old is she?
She's 8.
You see, that's the thing about these kids. They will know these things that we would never know. And no one teaches them sometimes.
They experiment so much, they experiment a whole lot. And the
Yes.
thing is, it's only because I noticed my name kept popping up at the top of the message list that I got to realize that no, it's because she kept sending messages. And now I had to pay attention because she was asking me questions and I had to engage. But I was shocked. I thought this doesn't work unless I'm close by,
Yeah. So you see, the thing with technology and your earlier question is you have to talk to your children all the time. And you have to have the kind of conversations that will lead to them opening up to you, to them asking you questions, to them being comfortable coming to you when they meet any roadblock or when they've seen something that they're not familiar with. And even if you don't know the answer, it's okay for you to say, let me get back to you on this one. And then you do your research or you consult. But the minute they feel like you are unapproachable, either because that mom was like, no, I don't want to hear about it, or because you always say, I don't know, leave me alone, I have no idea.
Yeah.
They will look for the answers elsewhere. They will look for answers elsewhere, and usually they'll get answers which are in conflict with your values as a family. So you need to stay on top of the parenting in terms of building trust and maintaining communication, and also upskilling your own skills, because this thing is evolving so fast. It's impossible for anyone to know everything.
That is so true. That is so true.
At any one given time, nobody knows.
Not at all.
So,
and I think for my household, what I tried to do was to build that trust, was to make sure that I was the one who introduced all topics first. I am, whatever difficult conversation it's going to be about, I am the one who introduces it first. So if it's relating to bullying, if it's relating to sex and sexuality, I will be the first person to introduce that topic, as difficult as it may be, so that I build trust. And then when they hear it from others, right, and even go as far as graphical as reasonably possible for the age group, so as to help them realize that I'm being as open as I can be and they can trust me. So that when they come and then they say, oh, my friends are talking about this at school, but they don't know, like you and me, we had this conversation and they don't even know what's real and what's not. So that's the kind of engagement I have with my daughter, at least.
That's good. That is good.
And we've gotten to the point, we've gotten to a point now, like when they're in online class, there's some kids who go back door and they inbox her and things like that. It's like, Mom, they're inboxing me. We're in class. I had to block them. They're gone.
You see, that's what I'm talking about. That even when they're confronted with something that they know is wrong, they'll be able to deal with it on their own, because it's like when you send them out to school and somebody bullies them at school, you're not always going to be there. But if you've given them the tools before they go out onto the internet or into the world, then they're equipped to be more resilient and also to deal with issues as they come. So the conversations should not necessarily be around how much time are you spending on the phone and all that. It's more about what you want them to get out of using that phone and what you expect them to know about the risks, and what you want them to do when they are faced with any situation that is uncomfortable or that is potentially harmful to them. So those are the things that are important. And the minute they feel that they can't trust you also, that's when you have those situations where they're creating private accounts or going onto social media without your knowledge even, because you might say, no social media until you're X age. But because their friends are on social media and because these children are so tech savvy and they have access, they will go onto social media and create some fake account in a fake name, and you'll never know about it.
And I think
until something happen.
Yeah, as you're getting into that, I think you're touching in on one of the questions that I had, which is what kind of
Mhm.
risks are there out there? Because you've talked about the fake accounts that kids create. You've talked about how they probably won't open up to you about certain things, bad, negative, and positive things that are happening to them on social
Mhm.
media. But there's a whole basket of risks that children are prone to when they're online. So let's
Mhm.
just have a small discussion about that, so we can see the
Okay.
extent to which things can go horribly wrong.
Okay. One risk is cyberbullying,
Mhm.
definitely, because when they're online, like I said, people are more bold and they can say things that mean things, especially that they would ordinarily not say to your face. So you
Because there's
get
no
a lot of
accountability.
cyberbullying.
There's no
Yes,
accountability on social media.
exactly. And because people feel sometimes, I don't know where they get this sense of bravery when they're online
Superpowers.
to say things that they normally wouldn't say in person. Then you've got exposure to pornography.
Mm.
There was a time when YouTube videos, the ones for the children's videos, there would be pop-ups of some really disturbing content
Mhm.
that would come up somehow. That problem apparently has been fixed, but when children go online, sometimes they'll not just on YouTube, even with search engines, they search for something quite innocent, like if a child searches for a boy, the word boy, for example, and sometimes you find things that are not appropriate for their age
Mhm.
in terms of the visuals,
Yeah.
in terms of the language. And another risk that you find is sexual abuse linked to pornography. There's sexual abuse where children's pictures are exposed to people who are pedophiles.
Mhm.
There was a case where children would post, their parents would post videos of their children doing simple things,
That was so
gymnastics or
funny.
sport or swimming, and then you'd get comments. Then you would get comments from people who are sexual predators,
Mm.
which were very inappropriate. And then you've got the risk of their privacy.
Mhm.
You know, when you sign up for things, sometimes you're asked for information like your name, your address, your telephone number, your email address.
Mhm.
And because children are very trusting, they will usually give out more than they're supposed to sometimes.
Mhm.
And it's very rare that they will look at the terms and conditions of things that they sign up for. So
Who
there's the
does
risk of,
though? Who does? It is okay if we're
yeah,
gonna be very, very honest. Those things are so long, and I
oh
think they
yeah,
make them so long so that people don't read them and we just
deliberately.
agree. Because every time that
Yes,
pops up for me, I just say I agree.
that is so true. So imagine if you do that as an adult, what more for a child?
It actually
What are they
reminds
talking
me.
about?
Yeah, it reminds
Mm-hmm.
me of a child who was playing a game in the UK, I think, and they rang up a bill of
Mm-hmm.
about $10,000 on their father's card because of in-app purchases.
Yeah, fortunately, the bank reversed that, but in some cases,
They don't.
you can't recover your money.
Yeah, and
And
that's
then,
yes. Sorry,
mhm.
carry on.
And then for the children who are playing games online,
Mhm.
they're also exposed to stranger danger.
Mhm.
Because when you're online, anyone can create a profile with their child's picture and say, I'm 13 or 14,
Mm.
and meanwhile, they're not.
Mhm.
So there are things like there are cases of children who've been exposed to either people who are sexual predators or child traffickers or
Mm.
murderers, kidnappers. The children innocently gave these people information about themselves.
Wow.
Then you've got, I've seen this even with adults, that when you go online and you're scrolling on people's feeds, sometimes you feel a sense of being left out, being inadequate. You see people who are on holidays or who are doing well or they're achieving something. And these people, because people always post the good stuff about themselves.
Of course.
So meanwhile, if you're a child and you're not mature, you don't understand that this is not necessarily real life, and it's not every day, and it's not a reflection of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it affects people psychologically.
You get your feelings.
You get low self-esteem, inadequacy. There've been cases of children who've even committed suicide because of what they see other people's lives looking like on social media. And then they compare that to their own lives and feel like they're not good enough. Then there's the issue of the like factor, where if I post something and people don't like what I've posted, but my friend always gets lots of likes and lots of comments, and it makes me then feel inadequate as well. Like, so I'm not good enough. What I have to say is not valuable enough.
Exactly.
So yeah, those are just a few of the things that I experienced online.
That it's actually a lot, and if you're not proactive, you can become very depressed, and like you're saying, even go ahead and commit suicide. So now the question that I would ask, I think probably our time is running out. I will compound my question to say, what are the built-in safety nets on the internet that protect children to ensure that they don't get exposed to some of this pornographic content and things like that? And then how best can parents reconfigure the way that they are doing internet for their kids so that they can improve and increase safety for their children?
Okay. I know with most of the social media platforms now, they've got options where they'll say children can only sign in if they're 13 years and above. But again, I'll take it back to the issue that an age factor does not necessarily mean a child is ready. So while we can have those safety nets that are inbuilt in the technology or on the social media platforms, it still remains with us as the parents to make sure that our child is ready. We need to weigh the pros and the cons of anything that we're going to expose our child to. Just like you would not give your child car keys and let them drive off. You need to know that they've passed the various tests and that you've even driven with them for you to know that they can do it. So it's the same. You go onto those platforms with them. And as you go on them, you also talk to them about the features that are there. You talk to them about the experiences. You allow them to ask questions. You can also ask them questions. What do you think about this, and get their perspective and their understanding? Because sometimes when you have that lecture approach and they are nodding and say, oh, okay, yes. But meanwhile, when they go back to using the device, they don't apply what you've said to them. So yeah, I'm more for the conversations between the parent and the child, and those have to be ongoing. Then so you've got those safety features like where you can also monitor your child's activities. You can play the stalker and watch what your child is doing online, who they're talking to, when, and all that. You can also have systems of having time frames for when they can use the services, like at night, no phones in the bedrooms, or during dinner time, or during school time, other than online classes, of course. So there are various strategies that you have to complement. But I also believe that you need, as a parent, to go and to know which apps your child is using, so that you get to know more about those apps. I could tell you right now that TikTok has these features, but by tonight, TikTok might have changed those features.
Of course,
so you have to
they adapt.
Yes. Yes, so we have to keep as the apps evolve, we have to also keep up. I know it can be overwhelming because there's so much going on all the time, and we've got other things that we're trying to balance. But just set aside a portion of your time each day or each week where you sit down with your child and you go through those apps that they use. Usually your child will have a maximum of 3 or 5 things that they are into: TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, and maybe email.
Yeah, Facebook is now for old people.
Or YouTube. Oh, definitely. And Twitter is for old people.
Of course.
Or YouTube. So if you know what they're using, it will become less overwhelming if you know which apps they use. Then you go and you find out more. You get information online, or you approach professionals for insights into that. Because with each season, there's always something new that's coming on the market, and sometimes these apps are reactive to certain things that happen. Like what happened when Google was sued because of what they were doing with the data that they were collecting from children. So they had to react to that. But then we as parents will know more beforehand. We know what we expect. So I think we should be leading those conversations about what we want from the technology, what we want from the social media platforms, as opposed to us waiting for them to correct anything, because they don't have the children that we have. They don't know the needs that we have until something actually happens.
That is so true. That is so true. So I know this is a great.
Sorry, if I can just add on, another thing is the legal systems have to also come on board. For a very long time, social media was unregulated. The internet is still largely unregulated. So as parents, our voices need to also be heard in the crafting of legislation, whether it's at a national or international level, that affects child online protection. We need to have our voices heard. I've been to many platforms and forums where it's just the technical people talking, and it's not even coming from the experience of having a child who's exposed, or a child who's going to be potentially exposed. So we need those people who are actually on the ground, the parents, the teachers, the carers. They need to be, their voices need to come in the forefront of all those policies and legal frameworks that are going to be crafted, which are looking at protection of child data, protection of child digital experiences, and even the digital divide aspect, where some children are not having access to digital platforms, because the social media and technology is not all bad. There's so many opportunities there, but there's a lot of children who are also not accessing it.
Yes, and then that brings in that issue of inadequacy that you were talking about, and just tying in with what you're talking about, the legal system. I can imagine the number of videos that we have seen of children videotaping other children being beaten and bullied by other kids, and nothing about it, and you ask yourself, if that were my child, and you see videos going viral over things that, and the internet doesn't forget. That's the thing.
No.
So
today
I'm 13. It doesn't forgive and forget, exactly. Today I'm 13 years old. I make a mistake. Someone records it. I'm going to be 50 years old, and people will still remind me that this is what you did when you were 13. So that definitely is a very, very critical point that you've raised. So I think I just want to hear the 2 final words that you probably have for this interview to parents. Just if as they say, your clarion call, or if this was your last day on earth, the last thing you want to be remembered for, so we can quote you and pass around memes with your name on it. What are those 2 top things that you want to tell the world?
I want to remind parents that there's no need to be afraid, because not all risks equate to harm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the risks are there, but not everything equates to harm. And our children are more resilient than we give them credit for. They are more knowledgeable than we give them credit for. Let's show a little confidence and more confidence in them and more trust. And we need to move from that space where we have the be seen and not heard kind of attitude that we grow up with. We need to involve our children in, especially when it comes to the digital aspects, because there are things that they know that we don't know. There are things that they've grown into that we didn't. And I would say that sometimes, okay, the second point was there is no shame in acknowledging that there are things that we don't know. And
yes.
we have to, when there is need, we should approach the experts. We should approach resources. We should ask questions, even from get answers from our own children. Sometimes the answers are simply with them. While we are going all over looking for answers. So yeah, I think just continue to instill your values as families. The love and the communication and the trust should always be center of everything that you do.
Oh, that is wonderful. Thank you so much, Edith. And I think I love that last parting word, the love and the trust. You know, we should that should be what keeps us going. When the internet is mean and the world is mean, the love and the trust and the security that we have at home should be the one that protects and guides us through it all. Thank you so much, Edith, for this very eye-opening, mind-opening experience, because there's so many things that are they're like wind, you know, they just come and go and you don't even see what's going on. So having someone who's actually there and spending time in the space is very good and very helpful to us parents. I was just saying the other day that suddenly the pace is picking up again. You know, suddenly everything is becoming hectic again. It had slowed down, but now it's becoming hectic again. You know, and we just need to be able to stay in tune and stay alert to what is going on with our kids. We will definitely find a good reason to have you back again. Unfortunately, our internet was acting up here and there, so our call was a little bit jumpy. But that doesn't stop you from coming back for another interview.
No.
Thank you, Edith.
Always a pleasure.
All right, you take care.
All right, you too. Thank you for having me here.
Always a pleasure to have you here. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.